Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to the Jeffries network on OpenTTD. Now before we get started, I do just want to say it is scorching hot in my room right now. I have to keep my PC off when I'm not using it for recording at the moment because it just overheats. So I've got my fan on, you can probably hear that in the background. I've also got my door open and I've got my window open, so you might hear some background noises. I apologise in advance if that is the case. That's a Java update just flashed up on my screen. So yeah, it might be a little bit noisy in the background, I do apologise for that, but it is the only way at the moment that I can actually get a video recorded. It's so hot outside and in my room that I've actually invested in an air conditioning unit, which should be arriving within the next couple of days, hopefully. That should make things a little bit easier, although there will then be the sound of an air conditioning unit in the background, so hopefully, again, you can bear with me on that. It's a case of either put up with an air conditioning noise or we don't have any videos throughout the summer period, and I know which one I prefer, and I'm pretty sure I know which one you guys prefer as well. So there you go. Right, I'm just looking to see what's going on here. Okay, so the overground trains, which 2 episodes ago now I sent these overground trains to the depot, they're taking a very long time to travel, because I think they're travelling at a maximum, 15 miles an hour, which is not ideal in any way, stretch of any way. Have I forgotten the expression? Any way, shape or form. There we go. Deary me. But there you go. What can you do? Okay, pause game. Lafayette Lakeside. That's where we started, and here we are now. Now, George De Silva actually mentioned this in the comments section a few episodes ago. And I kind of responded in a way that was like, shut up, you're ruining it. And the reason being is because I'm actually planning on creating a light rail system today. And the first thing I just want to check is somewhere there. I want to remove you. Apply changes, press yes. Hopefully that will change the docks back to what they were before. Because these new docks, not a fan. They don't look particularly nice. We've got the not responding thing. There we go. Have the docks changed back. Ugh, no. Oh no, they kind of have. Yeah, they kind of have. I quite like that actually. That looks quite cool. Alrighty. So yeah, game's paused. We are working on a light rail system today. Now the light rail system is going to be called the Hatfield Light Railway, and it's going to be very much based on the Docklands Light Railway. Mainly because it runs through some Docklands areas. It runs through this part of Docklands. It's going to link up here. You can see I've already built a spur line that goes off this way, and it's going to go across Halliday Circus. It's also going to go to GSG, and then off to the north there's going to be another branch which heads down this way, and it's going to connect up this part of the city. But the more important part of the project is there's going to be a line somewhere in this central section that's going to come down this way. Now, Guard City is already quite big, but as you can see, it is starting to expand even more. All of these outside towns and villages that I built are all starting to grow. Nahatan here, now it's on the rail network, is starting to grow. Nemphingbourne, can't read for some reason. Gart Hill, they're all starting to grow. Gondingbury, Rutway. I've also placed some out this way. Cardtown, Brunford, Plinston I think was already there. I think that one was as well. Slinington, that's new. This name should match. Like so. And so on and so forth. We're going to be expanding the city even more, and the way we're going to do that is using bridges. And it sounds so simple. But there you go. A lot of things in life are very simple when you think about it. But we're basically just going to do this. And we're going to stick viaducts in place like that. And the city is going to grow underneath the bridges, hopefully. And then out into the wilderness. Again, hopefully. If everything goes to plan. Now here we have got the water in the way. The water itself might end up being moved. I would like to still keep the water. It's just a case of putting it in a position where it's no longer in the way. I did, in fact, where is it? I think it comes under this. I should somewhere... Fake bridges. There we go. So you get these things, and you place them like that, and now you see, look, it looks like the water is going underneath the track. So we're going to use some of those to make the water look like it's actually travelling under the track, even though in reality it does not do that. I think that would be quite a cool way to actually, aesthetically at least, get the water from one side of the city to the other. It does then present the problem of you can't run boats across it because it doesn't actually exist, but that's a bridge, pardon the pun, but that's a bridge we'll have to cross when it comes to it. In the meantime, as I say, we're working on expanding the city. I think that was it for this side, really. Let all of this area, especially Victoria, which is starting to really, really grow, especially now the South Bank line runs through here as well, let it grow. Let it expand out into this area. Hopefully it will fill up all these areas where these stations are. So you've got this one here, you've got this one here, you've got this one here. Two of them, at least, are named Victoria. And then onwards and outwards. Let's get on to the actual building of the light rails, shall we? So we got 3 steps in the plan today. 3 steps are: convert Lafayette Branch into a light railway, which is what we're going to do now. Extend light railway south to Shoreham Junction, which is going to be like a temporary terminus. We're then going to extend the light railway north to an area to be confirmed. In other words, when I was planning this out, I couldn't quite decide where I wanted the light rail to go. Mostly because you have to combat this huge junction that we've got going on here. Ideally, I would quite like to run a bridge of some sort over this way, or maybe even run it through a tunnel underneath the station, and then have it come out and go around this way. Now that is possible. One thing that I'm going to do with the Hatfield Light Railway is I'm going to break my rule on tight turns. Normally I don't allow turns of 45-degree turns or 90-degree turns within a 1 tile space, and what I mean by that is, if I get the track, if I was to do this, normally I would put this there and have the track link up like that, but with the light rail I'm actually going to do this. Why? Because it's going to be realistic. If you actually look at the Docklands Light Railway, there are a lot of sharp turns. It's one of the reasons why I like the Docklands Light Railway so much. And during this episode, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the DLR, when it was built, where it was built, why it was built, and also about its future and the reasons I like it so much. Because I think it is a truly unique thing. I talk about this a lot. British Railways, we have a lot of uniqueness. We also have a lot of world firsts. World's first underground railway. I believe, I might be wrong with this, but the DLR is one of the first, if not the first, automated people moving systems ever built. It was opened in 1987, so it's 30 years old this year. And in fact, I'll go on straight away whilst I'm converting this track. In fact, I'll tell you about the track converting first. So I've got this new metro track, which I think looks really cool. And it actually, what gave me the idea for this light rail system is if I convert this track, you'll notice there's a yellow rail that runs alongside the track. Now if you go to places like Amsterdam and you look at their metro system, the yellow rail is actually the third rail system. It's where the current collection is. But it reminds me a lot of the DLR, because the DLR uses a very similar current collection system. It uses a third rail system, but it uses what's known as an underside third rail system. So most railways in Britain are electrified, or the ones that are electrified are using the third rail. They use the top side one. So you see that there is a steel rail that runs alongside the track, and the conductor shoes on the train make contact with the top of these rails. I don't know why I'm losing my words today. I have this all planned out as well. I'm basically reading this off a script almost, so I don't know why I'm mixing my words up. Anyway, so yeah, the current collection shoes collect the current from the top of the rail, and that's top surface contact. The DLR has shoes that connect to the underside of the rail. They don't connect, they make contact with the underside of the rail, and that's underside contact. One of the advantages of using underside contact is it means that if it rains or if there's snow or anything like that, it doesn't affect the ability of the train to make contact with the rails. And again, I'm messing my words up, I do apologise. But yeah, it makes it easier, better, stronger, faster, whatever. It just makes it not... let me stop. let me take a breather, and let me try again. It makes it easier for the train to operate in adverse circumstances. So if it's like heavy rain, heavy snow, whatever, the train can still collect the current from the third rail. There are then health and safety issues of wheel slippage and things like that, but that's sort of an external problem. It's not directly associated with the current collection. So you see here, I'm just prepping some space here for the station. We're going to have two little platforms here connecting with GSG. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, why do I like the DLR so much? I like the DLR because of how much like a toy train it feels at times. And what do I mean by that is, for example, I'm going to name two locations, and to the average person they'll mean nothing. But if you know the DLR, you'll know what I'm going to say when I say these two places. So the first one is Pudding Mill Lane, and the second one is Delta Junction. Now what are these places? Well, Pudding Mill Lane is a station on the Stratford branch of the DLR. In fact, it's the penultimate station before Stratford on the Stratford branch of the DLR. The reason I like it so much is Pudding Mill Lane station was the only double track section into Stratford. The rest of the track was single track, and then it branched out into double track again when it arrived at Stratford station. The original Stratford station. There is a second set of platforms now built where, let me just choose this bridge. Oh, that looks good. As a second set of platforms where the Stratford International branch runs through, where it took over the North London line in 2006 was when the North London line closed. 2011, I believe, is when the Stratford International branch of the DLR opened. It might have actually been 2012, thinking about it, but it was used for the Olympics. So Pudding Mill Lane was a sort of an anomaly on the DLR network. It was also considered a bit of a bottleneck, and it was an obstacle. And the reason it was an obstacle is when they were planning out Crossrail, they had to get the tracks from Liverpool Street Crossrail station out from underground and connect up with the platforms at Stratford. And they realised that the tunnel portals for this to happen were right where Pudding Mill Lane station is. So in normal circumstances, you'd think, you know, what did they do? What they did is the reason I love the DLR so much. They moved the station. It's quite simply, they built a brand new Pudding Mill Lane station for the fact that, just for the simple fact that the old one was in the way of Crossrail. There were other reasons. Platform extensions were happening at the same time as this was it's hot. I keep losing my words. The platform extension project was happening at the same time that this was being considered. The old Pudding Mill Lane station did not have its platforms extended because of this reason. Essentially, they decided that it was easier for everyone if they built a brand new Pudding Mill Lane station. It meant that they didn't have to extend platforms on a station that was not going to exist for much longer. So yeah, that's what they did. They built a new station. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it's 200 meters further along the line than the old one. They also built it slightly off to the south. And it opened. It's one of these weird ones. It kind of opened in time for the Olympics, but they shut it during the Olympics because it wasn't able to cope with the actually, let me look this up, because I feel like the old one was closed during the Olympics. Let me find out. But Pudding Mill Lane Station was actually the closest station to the Olympic Park, which was kind of weird, because it's the closest one, but it was closed throughout the duration of the Olympics because, as I say, the station itself wasn't built to cope with the vast numbers of people that would have been coming through the station. So they had to close it for health and safety reasons, essentially. Let me do this, and then let me check this on my screen quickly. Okay, yeah, I got my dates mixed up slightly. Pudding Mill Lane Station was closed during 2012. well, it was closed throughout the Olympic Games. It reopened on the 12th of September 2012. The original island platform station was permanently closed on the 18th of April 2014 in order to allow for the construction of a ramp from the new Crossrail portal nearby. A new larger station built a short distance to the south opened on the 28th of April 2014. Yes, I'm reading that off a screen. Sometimes it helps when you know what you're talking about. Although again, further down it says that the station officially closed on the 17th of April, but the last train to use it was the 0047, which technically makes it the 18th of April, if you want to be pedantic like that. But I suppose in some cases it helps to be pedantic like that. So the 18th of April was the last day of operation for the old Pudding Mill Lane station. And that's one of the reasons I love the DLR so much, is they basically sat there and went, okay, we want to build Crossrail, and we want Crossrail to come through this particular part of Stratford. We want it to surface at this particular point so that it can connect up with Stratford Station and also the branch to Liverpool Street. In order for that to happen, we will unfortunately have to move a station. And they must have presented that to the people, kind of like what I was saying in the last episode about moving a river. They must have presented that to the people, expected them to go, are you mental? But actually, they went, sure. And there you go. New station was built, new station was open, new station is now in regular use. And that's the first reason I love the DLR so much. The second reason is sort of even more crazy. Anyone who's taken the DLR will know or will have traversed Delta Junction. Delta Junction is the point of the DLR where the Lewisham branch, which goes via Canary Wharf, and the Bank branch, which goes via West Ferry, and the Stratford and Beckton branches, which both go via Poplar. It's the triangular junction where all three of those lines meet. That is Delta Junction. Now you'll see it now, and it looks very much like an improvised build. There's flyovers, there's dive unders, there's a period from Poplar heading towards Bank and Tower Gateway where you've just got two tracks that aren't really connected together going over the road. And this is the miracle, I think, with building the DLR, is there was this massive dual carriageway involved as well in the building process. And again, I can't for the life of me think what that road is. So if anyone does know, please do tell me. But what was awesome about this was, as I say, there was this... sorry, I'm sort of improvising whilst talking again. We all know how that ends. There was this big project where originally it was a flat triangular junction, and it worked because not that many trains used it. But when it came time to expand the network, they realized that this junction would not suffice anymore. It was an inconvenience. So, typical DLR fashion, they just rebuilt the junction. They rebuilt the entire junction pretty much from the ground up. The only bit that really remains from the original junction is if you go from West India Quay to West Ferry, so if you're heading from Canary Wharf towards Bank, you go across a flat junction at both ends. That was kept that way so that in off-peak hours you can actually, or the train, I don't know why I keep saying you, implying that it's you because it's a driverless train, but the train will use the flat junction still. But the section in towards Poplar, which was originally a two-platform station when Poplar first opened, it's now not, as again you will know. It's now much bigger than that. It's a four-platform station with flyover and dive under junctions built on both sides, as well as the depot behind it. It's hang on, I keep distracting myself because I see things that I need to do. Delta Junction is now probably the most heavily used and most complex junction on the entire DLR network. But the reason that I love it so much is just the way that they did it. It's the maverick nature that I feel, that nothing can get in the way of the DLR. There will always be a way through. I think that's something that's very rare these days in any sort of engineering aspect. It's something that we've seen on Crossrail now as well, where there's so many challenges that have been presented. I know I was talking the other day about the over-dramatization of certain parts of the Crossrail project, but to be genuine for a second, it is a huge engineering achievement, the Crossrail project. There's so many new records that are being made whilst this is being done. Even things like, I think I spoke about this before on the channel, but threading the eye of the needle when they built the platforms at Tottenham Court Road, and how they managed to get a tunnel boring machine between an escalator and the Northern Line platforms without anybody pretty much noticing. I think there were signs up saying this is happening, there might be rumbling in the ceiling above you, don't panic, we know what we're doing, kind of thing. But I mean, the whole thing is a huge achievement, and it's the never say die attitude that we have in Britain. And I think a lot of it, in some respects, has come from the way that the DLR was first constructed. It really was groundbreaking. It was the first of its kind. If you look at the trains of the DLR and how unique they are, they're built that way for a reason. They're built to allow the trains to traverse tight corners at a reasonable speed, you know, without having to sacrifice speed in order to keep passenger comfort high. The cars are articulated in that particular way to traverse those curves, and it's something that, unfortunately, when the DLR was first planned and built, it wasn't built with expansion in mind. They were a little bit lacking in forethought, let's say, but they've learnt from that, and because of that, you now have all these DLR stations that have been built with expansion in mind. So you've got brand new stations. Again, Island Gardens and Mudchute are two good examples. Originally the track just ended at Island Gardens. It was the terminus of the original line. I should actually say, when the DLR first opened, there were two branches. There was Tower Gateway to Stratford, and there was Tower Gateway to, I want to say, Lewisham, but I think I'm wrong. Hang on. Again, I did so much research for this, and the heat has just got to me. Where is it? There we go. Tower Gateway to Stratford and Island Gardens. That's the one. So Stratford, I always thought, because I mean, my knowledge of the DLR isn't perhaps as extensive as it should be. I know a lot about it, but only in recent memory. So my knowledge of the DLR was from sort of 2004, I think, onwards. So for me, Stratford felt like a fairly new thing because of the DLR branch to Stratford International and when that opened. But in actuality, Stratford Station, DLR Station, has been around since 1987. It's only the new platforms that replace the North London line that are, as I say, the new ones. So, yeah, the initial system is still there. You can tell that it's the initial system because if you look at the design of the stations, it's very obvious that they are the older of the stations. Sort of the design, and it's kind of what I'm doing here. DLR stations have a very unique design. They're all built to a or the original ones at least, were all built to a standard design with the half canopy over the platforms, the semi-cylindrical, the very semi-cylindrical platform entrances, platform canopies. That's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, I mean, you can tell what was original and what's been built since. It's one of those things. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I think, again, it's one of the things that makes the DLR so unique and makes it stand out, is it has that sort of throwback retro kind of feel to it. You can tell what's been around since the 80s, but at the same time, it's also a very, very modern construction project. Even when it was first, built, the whole idea of a driverless train must have sounded insane to many people, whereas in actuality it turned out to be a very smart move, let's say. As I say, I think the DLR is truly unique. There's loads of driverless metro systems in the world now. Pretty much all of them have the DLR to thank for their existence. But what was I saying? The two original branches. Yes, Tower Gateway to Stratford, Tower Gateway to Island Gardens. So the original Island Gardens was built on a viaduct. It replaced, I think it's called the London and Millwall Railway, which used to run on this viaduct. Island Gardens Station now, there's probably a lot of you scratching your heads because it's now built in a cutting just before. In fact, I think Island Gardens is the one that's underground on that line. I think Island Gardens is the one that's underground on that section. Mudshoot's the one that's now been built in a cutting, both of which used to be built on viaducts on this particular section of track. The reason they were moved is because of the extension under the river. They had to get the line down to a level where it could cross under the river. The only way to do that was to move the station. Again, it's another reason why I love the DLR so much, because you just, in modern day Britain, to move an entire station like that, the last time that's really been done was Rochester, and even then it was done as a necessity in order to improve well, everything about that really. Rochester Station was built on a bit of a bottleneck itself, and the way to improve it was to rebuild the station, so they did. Again, I think it's because of the DLR that Network Rail has confidence in order to do projects like this, because the whole concept of building this line reusing existing infrastructure was brilliant, I think. Then the idea of using the idea of rebuilding these stations as and when necessary in order to match their demand was also unique, and again, brilliant. And I think a lot of that now comes from the DLR. Places like Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf was nothing when the DLR was first built. It's now one of the busiest areas in London. Canary Wharf Tube Station on the Jubilee line is one of the most used stations that's served by a single line only. And a lot of the development around Canary Wharf is because of the DLR. It's as simple as that. So it's really cool for me personally to see all of this going on. Very close to where I live as well. I don't live too far away from London. Getting a DLR can be a bit tricky for me at times, but I always find it's worth it. If ever I'm in London, I'm always looking to get on the DLR if I can, because I think it's such a brilliant thing. I don't even know what invention. Brilliant example of how to do civil engineering well, how to do mass transit well. Anyway, that's me waffling on. Let's carry on building this track, shall we? I should have said when I did this actually, I've got 4 types of metro track. Metro track like I'm using now, metro track with catenary, and then I've got 2 underground types as well, one with and one without catenary. In fact, this one says urban, and this one just says underground. I think, yeah, you see there it's got grass, and this one has got concrete. This is kind of cool. It's a texture thing. If I do that, it looks like it's been built underground. So if you build it in a cutting with roads either side, for example, it looks like you wouldn't know there was track there, essentially. So I would look to use that on some parts of this network as well. I'm kind of improvising this at the moment. Like building this through here and underground and across this way wasn't really part of the original plan. But the more I look at it, the more I really like it. Shoreham Junction, as I said, is a temporary terminus of the network at this stage. It will be extended in the future. I'm kind of tempted to build it here, like that. But that's only a 2-tile long station, so I would have to go... Let's get rid of this. And we're going to rebuild that like that. There we go. And then this bridge will also need to be moved over to here. Can't do that. There's a waypoint in the way, so we'll have to move it to this side. There we go. But that's a later extension of the HLR, as it's now going to be called. The original line is going to terminate here. Something like that. and we'll build it in like this. Now, as I say, this is all going to be built to a standard design at the start. And then as we expand the network, the station style may change. But right now, I'm very happy sort of keeping this as standard. I'm just looking, does that know which way round to go? Don't actually know. I feel like I need to remove this road again, temporarily. It will get rebuilt in the future, but right now I need to remove it temporarily so that I can raise up that bit of land like that and put in the buffer stops, like so. Let's say hopefully that faces the right way. It looks like it does. Looks like it auto changes depending on which way around it needs to face, which is cool. I like that. Right, PC temperature is okay for now, which is good. I was debating breaking this video up into sections, kind of like what I did with Friday. Not Friday, Monday. I'm forgetting my days of the week now as well. Holy. Yeah, like I did on Monday. That was partly done because of the heat. It's partly done because I felt like it was a big project. It needed to be done as a time lapse. But breaking it up the way I did was mostly so that I could breathe whilst I was recording. It's very, very hot in here. I've just realised I need to take out this road so that I can build crossovers and stuff. So you like that. You like that. Now, as you can see, we have this third rail. There are trains that I've got that can use this third rail. I've kind of already identified what trains I want to use for this network. If I scroll down, I've got that one. But I think it's further down. Oh no, I think it is actually that one. Yeah, it's that one. The RET type MG2. It looks quite DLR-ish. Can't change the colour. It's also got the same sort of colour scheme as the original DLR trains had. The most important thing is it's a tile long. It's 2 units, 1 tile long, which is exactly the same as what the original DLR trains were. If you look at them now, they are 2 or 3 car trains, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depending on demand, also depending on how long the platforms are along the route. That is a thing. I think I read somewhere recently that it's always... Oh, I was actually watching videos of the DLR whilst I was researching for this, and someone was... It's kind of one of these online arguments that people have where one person is wrong but they won't admit they're wrong. So they were going on about how the DLR is only 3 cars long now. There's no alternatives. It's 3 cars or nothing. It's not. There are 2 car trains that operate on the DLR. In fact, I think it's the Stratford to Canary Wharf line that has the 2 car trains. I might be wrong, but it's to do with platform length and it's to do with infrastructure around. So when they... These are weird signals. When they rebuilt some of the stations or extended the platforms, they couldn't extend all of them. Cutty Sark is one of those. When they extended the line, they couldn't make Cutty Sark 3 cars long. The reason being that there are historical buildings in and around Greenwich that would have been affected had they attempted to make it 3 cars, so they didn't even want to try and risk it. So that is one of the stations. Island Gardens, I think, was another one. All of the underground stations essentially couldn't be lengthened. Pudding Mill Lane, as we've already said, was one of them as well. Not that that was an issue at the end, because they replaced it, as you know. Already said that. There were others. And again, I'm struggling to remember off the top of my head exactly what they were. It's this heat. I just can't think. That's worrying. You know, when it gets a little bit hot and suddenly my brain shuts down. That's not normal. But yeah, those were the main ones. There were others. I will try and remember them as I carry on recording this episode. I think it's also that usual thing of I'm trying to build and talk at the same time, and we all know how they end up when I attempt to do that. Right, we're going to be very true to the DLR here. So here we've got this station, Fort Slumphing Way. Here we've got this station, Stillington Overground. We are going to build two HLR stations almost directly next to each other, and this is a tribute to how the DLR is at Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf, West India Quay and Heron Quay stations are the three closest stations on any network in the entire world. They are built within, and again I'm guessing here slightly so I might be wrong, but they're built within roughly 200 meters of each other, which, to put that in layman's terms, is very close together. Why they did that, I do not know. I think again it's something to do with, along the lines of Canary Wharf Station was originally built as a little wayside station like all the other stations on the DLR, but at the last minute they realised that actually Canary Wharf is going to be quite a big development, so they rebuilt it as it was being built, which again is quite a rare thing. But they redeveloped it to have that's going to be a problem. They redeveloped it to have 6 platforms. Again, Canary Wharf, if you ever go to Canary Wharf Station, it is such a unique thing. They have 6 platforms only serving 3 tracks. I'm not even sure if they used the Spanish solution. I think the only part of the DLR that uses the Spanish solution is the new Tower Gateway Station, which is another one that was rebuilt to allow 3-car trains to call there. That now has sorry, again, building whilst talking never ends well. Let's do that. The Tower Gateway Station has 3-car length platforms now, or 1 platform. What? Again, it technically has 2 platforms but 1 track, and that depends on your designation as to what constitutes as a platform and what constitutes as a track. It has, basically in layman's terms, again, it has 2 platforms, but only 1 train can ever be in Tower Gateway at any one time. The original station, a bit like Canary Wharf, was built with 2 platforms, and again, a bit like Canary Wharf, it no longer has those 2 platforms. Man, I'm really shocked at how badly I am dealing with this heat. I can only apologise. It is very, very hot. It's what happens in the British summer, unfortunately. Just everything shuts down. So what else was I saying about the DLR? I had loads of really cool facts about the DLR as well. I've done that it was the one of, if not the first, automated system in the world. The original, the original trains. So at the moment there is a sort of rumour going around that they're looking to replace the trains. TfL are looking to replace some of the DLR trains because it's reaching 30 years this year. All of the original trains no longer run on the DLR because they weren't fireproof for underground use. And I think pretty much every line, apart from perhaps Tower Gateway to Beckton, I think that has underground sections as well, thinking about it. Pretty much every line has an underground section. Canary Wharf to Stratford doesn't have an underground section. There we go. I did think of one. Yeah, Canary Wharf to Stratford does not have an underground section, but pretty much all of the other lines do. Bank Station is built underground. Woolwich Arsenal is built underground. Island Gardens is built underground, so is Cutty Sark. I think there's 4 stations in total on the DLR network that are built underground, and then there are some that are built at sort of cut and cover level. There are some that are built... Hang on a second, let me just... Oops, no, wrong one. There's some built underground and some built... Again, the Beckton branch is quite unique. There's a bit where the DLR runs sort of in the middle of an A road. I think it's the A12, I want to say. and there are two stations where there are roundabouts on this dual carriageway. The station is actually built in the middle of the roundabout. Sort of imagine that the road is at level 3. Level 2 is the concourse area above the station, and then the platforms and the track is built at level 1. So again, it's a very unique design. It's quite... I can't think of many other places in Britain where the railway runs between the road. I know there is in Australia, a section on the Mandurah line, I want to say, where the tracks run in the centre of a freeway. But it is quite a unique, quirky thing. Again, I think it's really cool that we have something that does that. Doesn't happen very often in England that we have cool, quirky things like that. I mean, I always big up how great our systems are, but there are times where we do a little bit sort of middle of the road, quite boring, quite safe, I think is the word I'm looking for. We do things on the safe side. So it's cool to see that just every now and then our engineers go a little bit loopy and decide to build things not to the norm. I always like that. I like thinking outside the box. The DLR most definitely thinks outside the box. So the new trains. There is a sniff going around that because the old trains, the second generation of trains, are now getting towards their life expectancy, it's time to get some new trains. Now, from what I've read, again, I've read in my railway magazine about this initially, but I have read it on some other websites as well. These new trains will follow the same pattern that the new London Underground trains are currently having, in that they will be walk-through, fully air-conditioned trains. So I'm currently on a website called eurotransportmagazine.com. And the article is TfL seeks interest from manufacturers for new generation DLR trains. Now I should try and build whilst I'm talking here, otherwise this is going to be a very boring section of the video. I'm slipping into a very bad habit where I'll be reading something on my laptop screen, which means I'm not actually building anything on my main screen. So I do apologise for that. It's not a very professional thing to do. So let's get this built whilst I talk. Whoops, viaduct. So the new trains will come in 2022 if everything goes according to plan. And it looks like, instead of being single cars like they are at the moment, and again I should stress, a car on the DLR is technically two cars. They are articulated, they are joined together, so they technically form a single car. Most, as I say, are 3-car, some are 2-car. The point is they are all individual cars. They are then assembled into a train that will either be 2 cars or 3 cars long, which is why you end up with various length trains. If you see them in the depots at Poplar or Beckton, you do see them in their single car form. I always find that slightly weird to see as well. It's I don't know. I was trying to think of a smart analogy, but I can't really think of one right now. But seeing a DLR train in the depot on its own, it just doesn't look right. It looks very out of place. But that is how they come. They are single car units. So it implies, this article, and so does the other article that I read, that the new trains will be single car. One continuous train, sorry, not single car. One continuous train. And that each train will be formed of just a single, all the way through kind of walkway. Like Thameslink, like Metropolitan District and Circle lines. The way their trains are. So that's quite interesting that that's the route that they've decided to go down. It sort of feels like breaking tradition almost. For a long time now, DLR has operated with these single cars that are connected together. So it is quite... again, it's kind of breaking the mould, going with something new and something different, and kind of seeing how it works out. I think it'll be fine. I mean, there's no controversy about it or anything like that. I find it slightly unusual that that's the route that they've decided to take after all of these years operating as they have done. But then, perhaps it turns out that the DLR trains, as good as they are and as reliable as they are, they're actually, you could go as far as to say the DLR is one of the most reliable networks in the entirety of the UK, if not Europe, because very, very rarely does something go wrong, because it's all done by computers. It's a bit like the underground, the more modern side of the underground, where the trains are actually self-driving. Something that, again, I wasn't that familiar with it. I know it now, and I imagine there's a lot of people who are going to listen to me say this and go, well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, but pretty much every single deep level tube line now, the driver just sits there and doesn't do anything. That's not strictly true, but what I'm saying is they don't drive the trains anymore. What they do is like what the PSAs, I think they're called, the public. Let me check that as well. They used to be called train captains. They've now given a different title. Let's have a look at this. Nope. Where is it? There is something where it tells you what they're called. I think they're called PSAs, but I can't remember what PSA stands for. Public Service Agent, I think they stand for, or Passenger Service Agent. Something along those lines. But that's how the London Underground operates now as well. The Jubilee line was the first... Victoria line was the first to utilise it. The Victoria line... Actually, it might have been the Victoria line that was the world's first automated railway, thinking about it. Again, I'm trying to combine lots of facts together and sound really impressive, but I'm making a real hash of it at the moment. But the Jubilee line now has driverless trains. The Piccadilly line, the Central line, and the Waterloo and City line will do once the new Tube for London project is completed. I will talk about that more in a future episode, because I think that's a really cool thing that's happening in central London as well. The fact that I don't like tube trains very much. I like the new subsurface line trains, but I'm not a big fan of the existing deep level trains, especially the Bakerloo line trains, which I believe are the oldest on the network at the moment. They are very rickety, very screechy, horrible little things. So I'll be glad to see the back of them. But I do like the fact that TfL has identified the fact that we need these new trains. The investment is there. I've talked about this before. I've said investment is important. If you invest in a project, if you invest in a network and an infrastructure, it will always be better than what you could hope for. And that certainly seems to be the case with the DLR is a very good example of how that can work. But also the London Underground network is proving it as well. The subsurface lines feel brand new because the trains are brand new. Even though, as I said before, the infrastructure is the oldest, some of the oldest working railway in the world, using existing permanent way. Again, I'm forgetting my words. But I just think it's fantastic that we have all this going on in London, and I really look forward to seeing what the new DLR trains are going to look like. That's the thing that I'm most curious about right now, is what will they look like. It's quite an out there thing to say we're going to put new trains on the DLR, because immediately everyone thinks, what are they going to look like? Because they're so unique now. How do you go from that? Like, what do they look like next? Are they going to continue to be articulated? Are they going to continue to operate at the speeds they do? DLR trains, believe it or not, their top speed, and this is, again, it's their top speed, not their operating speed, 62 miles per hour, which is quite nippy for essentially a light rail vehicle. Something again which I think is quite cool about the DLR trains is they are built to a German light rail vehicle design. So they're designed essentially to run on tram tracks, which is not what they're used for, but again, this is quite interesting. At least it is for me. I know I'm probably boring a lot of people with these so-called interesting facts, but some of the first trains to use the Manchester Metrolink track were DLR trains. They were fitted with pantographs and they were tested on that section. They were using light rail vehicles. The original DLR stock, when it was no longer deemed viable to use on the DLR, was actually sold off to various light rail operating companies around the world. I believe there are some that operate in Germany at this current time. So it's interesting that what they were built for is what they're being used for, but not necessarily in the way that they were designed. They're designed to be used on tram tracks, not metro tracks, and yet they are used exclusively on metro tracks. They're also used with a different current collection system that you'd expect from a tram car. Trams very rarely use ground rail current collection. There are some pioneering systems in and around France that are currently using third rail type systems. I believe in Germany as well they're also trialing out some of this. So it's not new as such, but it's different, and different is always something that's worth looking into. But anyway, the whole thing about DLR trains I find quite novel and therefore quite interesting. But you know, maybe I'm just being a bit too geeky about it. Right, so we have one branch completed of this network. We're not going to end here though, because I'm going to try and build this second branch as well. So this branch, I'm trying to think what to call it. Maybe well, ideally you'd call it after where it terminates, which is up here. Again, this is a temporary terminus. Eventually this line will continue. But this is going to be the Rindingwell branch. I don't know if I could spell. There we go. Rindingwell Overground, which is where the HLR currently terminates. We will build these other stations in as well. There'll be a metro station that connects up here too. Metro will then continue under the ground, come out over here somewhere. We won't worry about that right now. Stations I'll build properly in just a second as well. You see here, there's a couple where they're going to be quite close together. These two here, and then these two here on this side of the river. There's also going to be a couple fairly close together here as well. I'm going to build one here to connect up with this dock, Menpool Docks, which is why that's been built like that. The GSG station is over here, as we know. This is the Halliday Circus one, and then I might create a full three-way junction here so we can have trains running in both directions. I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll have to see on that one. Now I want this line to kind of follow this up here, perhaps terminating either here, maybe over here in this gap, have a single platform terminating platform there, I don't know, or coming up as far as Plymouth Bridge Parkway. I'd like it to not be that long. I'd like it to be slightly shorter than that. So it's kind of then picking an interchange station. There is an interchange over here actually. Maybe have it terminate at Layhill. That could work. And build some platforms perhaps in the middle of the road here and have the line. Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea. Let's do that. So again, I'm absolutely decimating the population of these towns by doing this construction project. But again, like with most of my builds on this game, I feel it's a necessary evil. Sometimes you have to be destructive to be constructive. I will always stand by that statement, as ludicrous as it might sound. Right, so you are going to go here. You're going to be part of a Layhill station. We're then going to get this one, and this one. We're then going to have the crossover. Now all the other ones I've done crossovers separate. This one I'm going to put them together just so that I'm not destroying any more roads or towns or anything. It also means that it integrates nicely with where the water is here as well. So here we're going to have bridges going over like that and like that. I'm using old viaducts. Kind of the idea, especially the fact that we're reusing the Lafayette branch as well. It's meant to look like the Island Gardens, the old Island Gardens section of the DLR. The fact that we're reusing an old rail infrastructure to create the initial sections of this network. Eventually this network will span out and become quite big, I'd like to think. But at this moment in time, it's going to be fairly on the small side, let's say. Right, again, I'm going to be very destructive here, and very destructive all the way through here. Or am I? I don't know. I think I'm going to have to rebuild the road in Lindinghatton, because it doesn't quite line up with what I want to do. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut all this across here, and then this road is going to extend out this way, and then all of this bit here is going to be taken back like that. And then if I clear out all of this section as well, stick a road along this bit like this, connect that up, connect that one up, connect that one up, and then go along like that, and then connect that one up, and then that'll go across like that and connect up over here, and that looks kind of cool. Yes, I like that. And then obviously this will connect up all the way along here, and in fact might as well make this road go straight along like that, and there we go. So you can kind of see now how this is going to look. So there'll be another station on this little raised bit here, and then there'll be another station that connects up with the main station here in Lindinghatton. And even this is going to be a fairly long branch. I also have to decide where I'm going to build the depot for this. On the DLR there are two depots, one at Poplar and one at Beckton. The one at Poplar is also the nerve centre. It's where the main control centre of the DLR is. However, the Beckton depot is now the bigger of the two, because it's the newer. It's also built on the site of a former gasworks, which meant they had a lot of space to make it bigger. The one in Poplar was always sort of sandwiched in. As I said, there's a main A road on one side. Something else which is quite interesting about the DLR is connections. You would think that Canary Wharf station is the one that's closer to the Jubilee line station at Canary Wharf. It is not. Nor will it be the one closest to the Crossrail station at Canary Wharf when it opens. Heron Quays is closer to the Jubilee line by, again, quite some way. I think it's 50 metres, which might not sound like a lot, but that is quite a lot when you think about it. 50 metres between stations. When you think it's called Canary Wharf, they share a name, therefore you think they'd be quite close together. They are not. So I find that quite something. And as I said, Poplar is actually the closest station to Crossrail's Canary Wharf, which again you'd think it would be Canary Wharf station, but it is not. Make of that what you will. I personally find it quite interesting. But there you go. That's me. Let's build old style bridge here. And then we're going to turn it this way. Now at this point we're going to have to start looking at coming over towards this bit. So we're not too far off now. And then we're going to have to find somewhere to build a depot. So that's going to go like that. That's going to go like that. I might as well build these stations as I go along so I don't forget where they're going to be. So there are a lot of DLR stations that are built very close together. There are also lots of DLR stations that are built quite far apart. There are currently plans to build 2 new stations on the line. One is at, and again I'm having to refer to my web page here. Where is it? Right, Thames Wharf is one of them, and Connaught Road or Silvertown Interchange is the name of the other. I think there might be a couple of others as well that have been mooted, but those were the 2 that were sort of, when the route was built, they were safeguarded. Currently, the Thames Wharf one doesn't have anything of note nearby. It's all brownfield sites, so that's why that one hasn't been built. The other one is on hold because What does it say here? So Thames Wharf is a brownfield site. It's also currently on hold due to the area being safeguarded for the Silvertown Tunnel, which is a new Thames River crossing. The other one, I just don't think there's any demand for it at this moment in time. It's been safeguarded. There were a couple of other stations that were safeguarded that have now been built. One of which was Langdon Park, I think it's called. Again, I'm looking for it on the... I've got a stations list in front of me and I'm trying to find it. Yeah, Langdon Park. It's on the Stratford line. That was a safeguarded station that was then built. So, it does happen. Right, where am I going to put this line? I think this section here, by the way, is going to be the longest section between stations. Unless I build one just down here as well, which I'm very tempted to do now I've said that. So I think if I do that... So this is the GSG station. We then want to put... like this. And then it will shimmy over. I will get rid of that extra platform in just a second. And then it will rise up into GSG. Like that. Now there are certain platforms along the DLR that have been built with terminus in mind, terminating trains. Mudchute is one of them. It has a platform 3 that has never been properly used. Also just realised I need to extend this tunnel. There we go. Yeah, platform 3 at Mudchute has never been used for trains. It kind of feels a bit like a white elephant to me. I'm not quite sure why they decided that it had to be built with that many platforms. But there you go. The new Mudchute station has those London City Airport is also one where trains sometimes terminate. Canary Wharf is a through station at certain times of the day on the Stratford line. Other times it is not. It's one of these ones where mostly during the day Stratford trains terminate at Canary Wharf, but at peak times they operate as part of the Lewisham branch. So they actually go down as far as Lewisham, but the centre platform at Canary Wharf is used for terminating trains from Stratford, which kind of makes sense as to why it's been built with that many platforms. To an extent, kind of makes sense. In other ways, it's still very much confusing. But there you go. It's a big development, therefore it needs a lot of platforms. Right, where am I going to build this now? Up here and then along like that, I think. And then we're going to have a station here as well. And already I'm thinking future proofing. Where would new branches come from? I mean, the DLR at the moment serves 5 different services using 6 different routes, I believe is the one. And they are, again, you have to bear with me for a second, Bank to Lewisham, Bank to Woolwich Arsenal, Stratford to Canary Wharf, extended to Lewisham in the Monday to Friday morning peak, Stratford International to Woolwich Arsenal, and Tower Gateway to Beckton. So Beckton and Tower Gateway seem to be, and Stratford, technically, are the only stations where only one service uses them. Woolwich Arsenal is used twice. Stratford International, again, is only used once, I suppose, as well, if you want to include that. Stratford is an interesting one, because technically it is used twice, but they are different platforms. And it's one of these weird ones, because, again, the Stratford International one was built very much later, and it uses the North London line alignment. So the DLR platforms on the Stratford International branch are right at the opposite end of the station to the platforms on the Stratford branch. In fact, the ones on the Stratford International branch are built next to the Jubilee line platforms, whereas the ones on the Stratford line are built next to the main line platforms. If I build this as a huge viaduct, eventually when we extend this river, or maybe not this river, but we might build another waterway that comes through here, although that will play havoc with this metro, so maybe not, but you never know. So yeah, my mind is melting. This video has been over an hour long now, so I should start wrapping it up shortly. We are very nearly at the end of the line anyway. I'll probably get trains running on this off camera. I want to get the trains running properly on the section that we built last episode as well, because it was playing up a little bit once I'd finished recording. So I will work on getting that done off camera as well. And I'm just looking at what I've done here, and it's that one that I wanted to move. So we'll connect that one up again. We'll rebuild that like so. Actually, that one will stay where it is. Alright. That one will go like that, and then it just misses where I want it to be. So we'll have to do that. Which I think... I suppose over here we can go out by one and then extend that way again. Yeah, that works. Viaduct, viaduct, like that, and then connect these two up. Right, now it's a case of building the stations in these gaps. Oi boy, I hate when I misclick on this game. I wish there was an undo button. It's one of the things I like about Planet Coaster is if you make a mistake, Control Z is fixed. This game, not so lucky. Right, this is the bit where I need to build the stations. So you see we've got some ground level stations. On the bit where it goes down towards Shoreham, we've got some subsurface stations as well, which I might rebuild with the underground type, just to see what they look like. It'll be a bit weird with the metro station next to it, but if I can get it so that it connects across, that might look really cool. But this line is going to be really intensely run, I would say. As I say, we've got 2 branches at the moment. In the future we will have more. The network at the moment runs from north to south. It will eventually run from east to west as well. At one point I was debating whether to have a cross-rail type system like we had in the last map with an RER type setup, or do I just use the HLR as a way of doing that. Again, I don't fully know yet. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Right, signalling wise, I kind of like these signals. They look really quirky. We're going to try and keep the signals as close together as possible so that trains can run as close together as possible. I think that would be ideal as well. So there is a good one. There's a good one. There's a good one. Here, obviously. Here, 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 and here. Like so. Like that. And then all the way up this way to the terminus. Now this one feels like a permanent terminus. The others so far are all temporary. This one feels like permanent at Leyhill. I can't see why we'd want to go further north than that, because at that point we're starting to leave Greater Guard City and it kind of feels pointless. Here though, and here, I would quite like to try experimenting with that underground urban style station. So if I just get blank platforms and do that, that looks quite ugly. Yeah, that's not quite worked out how I thought it would. Maybe here I'll just use the metro style stations. I want each station, each train type to have its own unique style station, but here I feel like that would actually work better. If you just connect those up like that. Same with over here. Although this one I might go back to using, it was the Japanese platforms, wasn't it? Maybe just using the single platform ones. Yeah, it kind of looks better. Well, there's a gap there. I'm not sure I like the fact that there's a gap there. And then over here as well. And if you convert these ones, it also covers the tunnel mouths, which I think is also really cool. So, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look great, doesn't look terrible. This bit here I might have to redo. Maybe just add. No, it doesn't really do it, does it? We'll find something that we can do in that gap. Use it as a tunnel mouth or something, I don't know. And then this section over here needs a road built in front of it. We'll put a station, bus station there. And in fact that road can then continue. If I lower that down, we'll have a bridge across there, something modern, and then have that follow that up there so that you can connect into there, and then have it run back down, just like that. Okay, this bit also needs signalling. How have I forgotten to signal this bit? I suppose the bit out of Lafayette hasn't been signalled. So this is Lafayette here, isn't it? So this used to be the terminus of the Lafayette branch, and now it's no longer so. It's one of these quirky nature that we have on the HLR. See if anyone wants to design a logo for the HLR. Probably not in DLR style, is one thing I will say. Try and keep it unique if you can. They're too close together. Let's do it like that. There we go, and then here and here, and then here and here, and then like that. And then somewhere over this way perhaps, again if we treat this as like a triangle, we can put a depot over in this area. So if we do this and this, actually is that a smart idea? Not really, because I can't signal this then. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Somewhere over here though, we want to put an entrance to a depot. Maybe here. Get rid of these and have it like that perhaps. And then have it go down into a depot. Let me think of a design. I want it to be quite big. Or big enough for a few trains at least. Like this, I suppose. And then that will come down like that. There we go. 1, 2, 3. What do the depots look like? Yeah, bog standard at best. Okay, here, signal, 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 signal. Here, signal, 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 signal. And here, signal. 1, 2, 3. Signal. Let's move that there. We can move this one up one, so we can have 2 trains waiting at any one time there. Okay, now if I go down to fixtures, here, select this. There we go. This will be HLR Prin Lee Depot. Okie dokie. Let's get one train out and have a look at what it looks like. So this will be this type. Get 3 together like that. It's a 3-car long train. Now the capacity of this should be... Let's do some quick maths. 18, 108, 708 capacity of this should be, which I think we can all say is big. Lots of people. Right. So we're going to run up to like that. And I've just realised I've messed up with this design. I thought it looked a bit off. So they all stay where they are, except that connects. Oh, I'm going to have to move it. I'm going to have to move it. Hang on. It's the heat. What can I say? Sounds like an excuse, I know, but it's so hot in here. Right, there. In fact, that can go to there. No, it can't. This whole thing needs to move over by 1. Like that. Get rid of that. Move that to there. Get rid of that bit. Get rid of all of that. Like so. And then like that. That one goes there. 1, 2, 3. There. Like so. Get rid of that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. In fact, get rid of all of this one. Like so. This then runs up like that to there. Get rid of all of this then. Oh no, I've still messed up. That one runs up to there. This one then runs all the way down. Get rid of all of... No. Get rid of that bit. There. Now we put these signals back in. Like so. Get rid of that signal. Put that there, that there. So these are 4 long, but that should be fine. And then like that. Whew. One, two, three. Right. New vehicles. Let's save the game really quickly. One, two, three. Shame you can't change the colour. That's the one thing that I would change about this train is the colour. But there's no way of doing that, sadly. Right. So you go here, you then go here twice, here twice, here. This is non-stop via, non-stop via. This one is no loading. This one is no loading, no unloading. And this one is service. Right, and then from here you go here twice again. And this one I think we're going to make go down probably the main branch. Let's get all this in first and I'll show you which one I mean. I do like this bit where it comes through the center here. I think this looks pretty cool. I might move this in a little bit though, just so it looks a little bit better. There's Lafayette Lakeside, and then Riverside, West Bank, Hatfield Town South. What's this one? Pier 12, and then I think it's Pier 39. Yep. Right, so the main branch is this one here that goes across via Halliday Circus and Guard City St George and onwards. So I'll give them all proper names in a second. Queen's Park West, I do like that. That's a nice name. And coming up towards the end, Lay Hill. That's the one. So this is the Lay Hill branch. So this is Shoreham Junction to Lay Hill. Let's do that now. Hatfield Light Railway. HLR EMU, obviously. Shoreham Junction. Something else I'm going to do. Every station on the network is going to have a 3-letter code. So SJU, at the moment at least, is Shoreham Junction. To Lay Hill, which is going to be LAH. And you are 6 cars long. You then go into this. You then go into this. And then for the final piece of the puzzle, we're going to do the stop times. So the dwell times on the DLR is actually very light. What is the loading time? Trains don't stop for that long. I think they stop for less time than underground trains do as well, because they've got wide open doorways and people tend to get on and off pretty damn quickly anyway on a DLR train. We are going to have long stops at terminuses. 1000 here. Lay Hill, wherever it's gone. There is also going to be 1000. And then when you come back, it's only going to be for 500. But I mean, that's still quite a long time. And then up the top here, it's going to be 3000, I want to say. What's the top speed of this train? 50. Might make it go top speed for the majority of the route, actually. The only ones I'm not going to are at the beginning here. It's only going to go 25 as it comes out of the depot. In and out of the terminus stations, perhaps, as well. It's going to go quite slow for the last bit of the journey. So this one here, it's going to go probably maximum speed of 20. And then for the majority of the journey, it's going to go top speed, but just before it gets to Lay Hill here, it's also going to go top speed of 20. And then coming out, it's going to be 50 again. Same as is up here. Down this end, Shoreham Junction, 20 miles an hour. Out is going to be 50 until it hits here, and then it's going to go down to 25. And then this one here is going to be 15. And that's that done. So I'm going to watch this on its route. I'm then going to plan out as many trains as necessary, and then we're going to come back next time, and we're going to work on something completely different, which is the way this series seems to be going at the moment. We work on different things each time. It's cool. I like the variance. So we have converted the Lafayette branch into a light railway. We have extended the light railway south to Shoreham Junction. We have also now extended the light railway north in 2 different directions. Next time we'll be working on the Great Western Main Line again, which is why we had to work on it in the last episode as well. But that is it from me for today, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.